That's
Turn your phone down, Carl.
yeah.
That's why I took that out.
Okay. I would like to announce that this meeting of the Seguin Independent School District has been duly called and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Section 551.043 of the Texas Government Code. This evening we do have a quorum. Mr. Jenkins will not be joining us. We can now raise for our pledges. And Denise, how about you today?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Almost every girl said how did that? All right, we'll just take a couple of moments for reflection. Okay, we are here this evening for a facilities discussion, which I assume will be led by Mr. Lewis.
I'll start.
Okay.
As we've been having conversations, even dating back to our previous board, with the utilization of our facilities and really just improving the educational environment of our students. Really, that's the priority and why we're in the position we're in with Bond 2019. We've been in conversations since last year, and I believe these conversations had happened even prior to my arrival on MBLC and DAEP over at Burgess in combining those two campuses in one location for a variety of reasons, which will be listed. But we currently have Sagert that is sitting vacant, and as you all know, when a building sits vacant or a home sits vacant, what happens? And it's a solid structure, beautiful structure that I think many people want to see life brought back into, and we have an opportunity to do just that with some of the programming that we have with DAEP. If you've not had an opportunity to visit Burgess, I would encourage you to do so. You will see that there are certainly a lot of needs there. The conditions that those kids and staff have to work in are really unacceptable, and we have had conversations about the need to make some changes there should we not have the opportunity to move those kids, our most at-risk kids, to a different learning environment, where with MBLC giving those students an opportunity to be in a school, they come to an alternative program to complete their high school diploma in an environment that is, they're located in a mall, but they're also restricted in space as well when it comes to being able to accommodate additional students. We also have the 18+ transition program that is growing for our special education students who are learning job-related skills, currently being housed in, what would you call that?
Mini-mat. Yeah, mini-mat.
Yeah, like portable structure. So if we looked at, we could fill Sagert and of course keep all of those students separate because it's all very different programming, and we want to make sure, I think the priority is going to absolutely be making sure that students are sent to alternative school because they are to be in a separate environment away from anyone else. So that is the goal. So we began having conversations several weeks ago with the team about transitioning those two programs, DAEP, actually 3 programs, 18 plus, DAEP, and MBLC, to Sagert, as there is space to accommodate all 3 of those programs. And so over the last several weeks, we've discussed staffing, we've discussed what renovations would have to happen at Sagert to be able to bring that building up to par to today's standards and educating students today. And so there's a solid timeline that Bill has created in collaboration with the team to outline what that would look like, what it would mean even to the impact of the name, because we've got the campus currently alternative housed at Burgess, and what would happen to that name, because once that campus is empty, the recommendation from the work that happened with the facilities group is to not utilize that for a campus later for various reasons. It's open, it's not safe, it doesn't have the capacity to hold but a couple of hundred kids. So keeping in mind that namesake, Lily Burgess, and then also with the MBLC name and somehow maintaining that name as well. But with these programs moving to Sagert, it's not going to change that name. And you all had the opportunity, I believe, to walk through Sagert. I know one day, the first day I was there with a few of y'all, to get a good understanding of how that space would be utilized, how MBLC would utilize the main area, and alternative being in a separate area as well. So really wanted to take an opportunity to allow y'all to ask questions in response to that opportunity you had to tour, but also look at the attachment that Bill provided as far as that transition plan, to give you an opportunity to ask some questions, because there certainly would be a dollar amount attached to that to upgrade HVAC, wireless capacity, electrical, because that campus has not been utilized in a number of years. But overall, it is ready for kids. It's a solid building, and we would like to improve the learning conditions for those groups of students. Bill, anything you want to add?
No, we feel like making the campus ready for kids is pretty straightforward and not going to be a difficult task. And the things we'd have to do is just some fencing and change a couple of doors, add some signage, those things. It needs general facelift as far as painting inside in some areas. We need to upgrade some of the tech in that building, just as far as install projectors back in the classrooms, update the wireless pieces, but the infrastructure is already in place there at the campus. There was a little concrete work, some electrical work that was going to be done, just getting ready to go with custodial supplies. We're going to carpet the wood floor that's in the auditorium. That's going to be kind of a general space that will just help dampen the sound in there greatly. For MBLC, they like their general meeting space. And then just some various plumbing, getting the restrooms fixed back up, just general cleaning, some security updates, And then we put a little bit on there for contingency, just in case there's something unforeseen on that.
Is the food service coming out of the food service?
Food service is coming out of food service. I could answer, they have most of the equipment already to move over there if needed, and then any additional updates come out of food service funds for the cafeteria.
And tables and chairs?
We have, actually, we had a room, we have plenty of tables stored over there already, cafeteria tables in storage.
Phil, remind me what that, was there a recommendation?
There was a recommendation on, I believe, priority 3. That's a full renovation of Seguin, including tearing down the D, two-story D wing, which is 6 classrooms, rebuilding. It would be adding a gym on site. So this would be basically if you wanted to convert this back to a full functioning 500-600 student campus, more likely an elementary campus. That would be the cost. It's about a 12 to $13 million renovation if you want to take it all the way back to a full function, like an elementary campus. That sense.
I think the idea is to keep in mind, and there's been ideas to create a magnet and other things which there's great ideas, but we have campuses that are already under capacity, and to pull away from those campuses, I think eventually the district will see growth, and we can certainly entertain those ideas for sure. Yeah, but we at the same time have to take care of these students too, and address their needs, our alternative kids, and those are some of our most fragile kids, and our NBLC kids. You're looking at how many kids right now, Mr. Law, that you serve?
We can serve anywhere between 85 to 105, just depends on the number of English kids on the ELC side.
What are the plans for the MBLC building?
So the MBLC building will turn into a professional learning center at this point. So for staff development, we're still talking about ways to utilize those rooms, but it would be, because right now we pretty much have these 2 rooms for staff development, or we go other places. We even brought the cafeteria, or the 3rd floor, back to life over at Erskine for a couple weeks for some staff development in the summer, and just a couple weeks ago, so it would be some ready-made spaces for.
We lost a space because special ed needed, I mean, their working conditions were pretty bad, and so we renovated the additional professional learning room we had. So this is all we have for a district that serves 1,000 employees. We just have these 2 rooms to serve professional learning. It's not the priority, but it'll give us that space to be able to make some learning spaces for adults, but that won't be an immediate priority. The immediate priority will be Seguin being able to accommodate these 3 programs.
What would it take to get that room ready, cost-wise?
We haven't put numbers to it because it's working right now. It's a space that's working, classrooms with technology. So that would have to be changed. It would just be if there was any reconfiguration, but we haven't really discussed the need for reconfiguration over there. We have tables, we have chairs. Some of the furniture can stay there because we have some furniture at Seguin, just making sure we meet those student needs first. On the Seguin campus, between what's still good to move from Burgess and MBLC and what do we need to, what's still at Seguin. There's still a good amount of furniture over there.
Do you know, before Seguin was vacated, when was the last time a renovation occurred at Seguin? Approximately.
Maybe 2008. So maybe that's when we added the cafeteria expansion, and they added a room onto the corner of that E building, and then several we did when we did the, in 2014, we did the vestibule update in 2014. When the vestibules got updated.
And that's a good question.
And when did it close?
3 years ago.
2016, 2015.
So
What I would hate to see is for us to throw all this money at it, and in 2 years we close it and sell it. I think it should be thought of as a very long-term commitment, that we're going to spend money on this. So if anybody has another idea, keep it to yourself. Because I'd hate to spend more money and then get rid of it.
Well, I think at $500,000, I don't see how.
Well, that's to begin with.
No, but I don't see how it, once they move in, I think it's going to be a long term. That's the way I see it.
I hope so.
it has to be. These MBLC has been a very successful program for many years now. It's not going anywhere. The growth when you think about the growth that is going to come to Seguin, it's not in the center of the city, so we're not.
Well, what I'm saying is, now let's say something happens and we build a school and everybody goes there, what do we do? I don't want it to be vacated.
It's a valid concern.
And there's room to grow. There's room for more students than we have right now that would attend in BLC and DAEP, right?
Right.
And there's all the way down this hall.
You mean if those programs got bigger?
Yeah, if those programs got bigger, there's still room at Sigurd.
There is.
Yes, there is. Even after like another hotel.
Yes, because there's three more rooms outside B wing. There's five or six more rooms in the back of the E wing that's not going to be utilized. These 4 rooms.
We didn't take a look at the gym area, but that's going to be utilized as well.
They have the opportunity to utilize it if they need to for physical education. Yes, they can use. They can utilize that gym if they need it.
In the case of like an emergency fire drill, Alice, all the kids, where would they be directed? And then there would be a bit of a crossover there because as it is right now, they probably wouldn't have much interaction with each other.
Correct. Yeah, the evacuation routes would take them different places on the property.
Okay.
So yeah, they wouldn't necessarily even, unless we had to evacuate the whole building and bus them or something. That'd be
Right.
Critical emergency.
The critical emergency, but your fire drills, your Alice drill, they of course they may in an Alice situation, but as far as drills go, those can be handled separately. In the event of a fire, they would each have spaces, safe areas to go to.
So you think this is a pretty long-term solution?
Well, I'll say if we do something with Burgess, as in not renovate it and get rid of it, our options are pretty limited about where we put kids after that. So that will leave us with one facility in our inventory.
If we get all of these people there, what would the numbers total?
So right now we would run about 120 to 150. And when we start school, it'll be 90, 100 kids at MBLC and 2 at Burgess at the start of school.
Would that peak about?
And then you peak it. It'll probably include transition kids. There's 12, 15 of those kids in that program. So you can look at 160 to 180 kids utilizing that space at peak.
And occupancy before was 500?
Yes, it was one complete grade level, so that was at least 500 kids, 500 to 580. And then the D building is 6 classrooms, so the D building's still there, we're just not going to use it.
I don't see a price for demolition on here for the D building.
We have not put that as, that's not part of the plan at this point. We could bring that at a future date. Demolishing buildings has other other impacts. There's utilities that go through it, there's technology that goes through it, we may bring something at a later date that maybe packages a few things together, but
So that wouldn't necessarily come down next year?
not as part of this plan, not to start school, no. Now, next school year, we may bring something to you as a recommendation, but there needs to be more discussion and thought and planning put into that before.
There'll be a fence right there, right? So they won't be able to get.
There's a fence right there right now that goes behind that all the way across. Goes all the way around the property.
She meant in front of.
In front of that, so you can't go up the stairs.
Right now, there is not something that blocks the stairs.
And if we go with this plan, would we then update the priority tier?
Well, I don't think it would change the tier. That's tier 3. That's down the road, and that's for a full renovation. If we want to reuse it as a full campus again. So the things that are going on there now, painting, carpeting, technology, those are kind of things you would do to any building that you would be using. Every building has a paint schedule, has a cleaning schedule, has a repair. We're just kind of, the plumbing issues, those kind of things would all have been done over time. We're just kind of doing them all at once at this point. So I think most of them are general maintenance. The air conditioning units are the most expensive, and I will say on that, we're saving about $85,000, $90,000.
Saving, I got it right here, $97,645.
By doing all the installation ourselves on those. So
Will any units be on the roof?
they're all roof units there.
Yes, sir.
So get ready for lease.
Yes, all the curbing will take place as well. That's what the unit sits on as well. So the curbing will be added to as well. So.
And it's been done before internally?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Does it currently leak?
Right now, no, it does not. Right now. Now, I did see a couple of little spots, but we had a roofer come take a look, and it's nothing major, so we can take care of that. So we're pretty good there as far as the roof.
Dr. Gibbons, in today's bond presentation at AJB, you made note of the fact that when renovation starts at that campus, they would probably be able to stay and work around that. Is that kind of the thought that's happening with Jefferson
Yes.
as we approach that when the bond passes? Okay. So you would never, or we haven't looked in the future of having to use Sagard as a place where you'd have to move some of the elementary kids while a building's being replaced or renovated? No?
No, the architect believes that we would be able to do that work around school taking place, but we also have, you could always have, you never know if something could come up, but we have Erskine that's there should a need arise to move a grade levels, but as of right now, that's not the plan.
Is Erskine more suited for elementary students than Sagard?
No, I don't think so. Just because it's got it's 3 levels. You wouldn't put kindergartners over at Erskine in that building. You're not supposed to really have them going up and down stairs for things. So.
At Sagard?
Or at Sagard would be more apt. You could put them because there's more first floor classrooms at Sagard, but at Erskine there's really nothing on any floor that's just.
Well, I had thought perhaps the plumbing would be more suited for elementary age students at Mary B than at Sagard.
I can't remember the height on the toilets and those kind of things over at Erskine.
At Erskine, they're identical.
They're probably just pretty standard.
They're standard.
You could get little step stools.
So looking at this cost chart, Tony, would this pretty well deplete our QSAP funds?
That would be an accurate statement. Or we're estimating a little bit over what we have right now, just a little bit. but we expect over the course of time, as this work takes place, we'll have interest earnings to build it out. So I feel pretty comfortable we'll hit that 219 with QZAP, and we need to spend it. So it's really where we need to be with this. But yeah, that should deplete it 100%. And it's actually nice to have more than what's required here, so that if there are any issues as far as classification of expenditures to QZAP, we can use some of these other items, because virtually every single thing on this list qualifies as a QZAP expenditure. So we could use these in lieu of some other expenditures if there's any question at all on the side of our attorneys or our auditors.
And there's enough furniture at Sager to house both the MBLC and DAP.
And we'll pull some from the campuses if it's in good shape. If it's
From
good,
where they are right
from where
now.
they currently are now. Like
Okay.
there's a room full of science tables over here at MBLC that may end up moving, because those are more expensive and we don't have extra science tables sitting around. So we moved all those when we went to Barnes and Breezy. So those may move over. So there are some good student desks. There's some tables. There's some better teacher desks still sitting over at Sager that we're going to use to replace some desks for teachers.
I'm sure they'll appreciate that. So this plan for Sager is bond or no bond, correct?
Yeah, I think it doesn't depend on the bond one way or the other.
Yeah.
It just moves forward with our plans for facilities to reduce our inventory and utilize our buildings that we have.
Included in here is there signage, so people understand which parts are either.
Yeah, well,
branding.
a lot of the signage we could do internal, but we did put some, like miscellaneous expense, labor, we just included some signage in there, a bit for signage, so we'll have something that clearly marks the entrance to MBLC, clearly marks the entrance to Burgess.
I remember when we first got MBLC, how hard it was to explain to people what it was. And I think after 25 years, it's finally, the message has finally gotten out that it's not the alternative school. It's not the DAP, and now that they're going to be together, I just want to make sure people can see that.
That's where I think the name, maintaining the name is going to be important. MBLC at Sager. I think that's going to be key.
Do we do our own security checks? Because I don't know, something the city of the police department, for example. If you're building a home or they don't charge a fee, they'll come home and they'll tell you, well, we've got a weak spot here, we've got a weak spot there. Do we do that mainly internally, or do we ever bring in security?
I don't know, for security checks,
Do we do it on our own internally, or do we ask the police department to come over and just kind of look for weak spots?
As far as the security of the campuses? Actually,
People trying to get in.
People trying to get into the campus.
On the weekends?
Yeah, we have someone on call on weekends, and actually, our campuses are all set up now with motion detectors and things of that nature. So if something sets it off, what happens? The company will get a call, we get a call, and of course, we'll say either dispatch PD or what.
So do we make the determination of like which stores have the certain types of security, where the motion detectors are? Do we use just the company, or does the police department help us with that?
Actually, what happens is we work with the company and they come out, and they're experts in all this field as well, and working with them and us together, that determines, where we put a motion detector, where we set a pull station. But like pull stations and all those things, that strictly goes through the fire department. So there's a little bit of different things that all got to come together.
So will they help determine like where there may be a gap in need for
correct?
additional
Yes,
security?
yes.
Yeah, because I know the fire department, they do that with those.
Yes, they do.
Police officers, sometimes they offer that service for free. They'll just come over and they'll say.
Yes, actually, fire department, they come in and they do a yearly check, an inspection of all of our campuses. and of course, they sign off on it, and that's something that we have to do. So, and that takes place every year. And they also check as well as vent hoods to make sure they're operating properly. So it's an extensive inspection of all our campuses every year.
Yeah, it's always good to bring an extra set of eyes from the outside.
Yes, sir.
You can do it
Absolutely.
internally. We do that at work also. You get caught up with the day-to-day activities and you kind of miss a few things here and there.
Yes, sir.
It's only natural.
Any more questions, ma'am? Just want to see those.
Yeah.
Okay. Guess we'll move on.
Bond Oversight Committee. One of the things that we are sharing in our presentations that have really kicked off today is that we are going to bring to the board the approval, the recommendation to approve a Bond Oversight Committee at the next meeting on March the 26th. We feel it's important to have this in place right away. Should the bond pass, having these individuals identified. And so I appreciate the names that have come in. If you haven't provided the names, you can give them to Nancy if you've not done so. But the purpose is to really provide a level of accountability. We want to be good stewards of our taxpayers' dollars and show that the accountability piece is important. We're going out and asking for $65 million. We expect that there's going to be a level of accountability there. And so we want to make sure that we begin this right away and really having this group serve as an advisory board and working with the leadership to really monitor timelines of projects, making sure that we are fulfilling our obligations as far as what we've gone out for to the community. And really Bill has taken some ideas from other school districts, and you can see at the bottom Fort Bend, Round Rock, and Capel, and really taken the best to meet our needs, because our needs are very different. You've got districts there that have approved $500 million or $1 billion bonds versus ours. So you can see what the objectives are, how these individuals will be chosen, the frequency of the meetings, and just the purpose, and to be able to, I think, be proactive and show our community that we are taking this seriously and we are bringing this for approval prior to even the passage of the bond, I think is going to be critical. I think one of the things that you hear out in the community as we're talking to people and engaging in dialogue is their concerns about how dollars have been spent in the past, and although none of us can answer that, we can answer for what decisions we're making today. And so I believe that this will be important to show our community right away. And if you've had, I know y'all had an opportunity to review what some other districts are doing, and then looking at this document, if you have some additional input, this is only a draft, please feel free to share that now, or let us know in email when you have some time to reflect a little more. We are certainly open to this. I'm not sure when the last time we've had one. So, I mean, for us, this is new, so that
I don't think we've ever had one in Seguin.
Not to my knowledge.
2000.
So any input that you have, we certainly would appreciate. I'm really tailoring it to meet our needs, and looking at the frequency of meetings, we felt like with what we're looking at with that $65 million, maybe quarterly 4 times a year would be appropriate. And of course that could change to be more frequent if need be.
About how many years do you think it'll take for us to finish up these bond projects? Estimate.
I'm going to measure it in gray hair.
Oh, okay.
Years now.
Bill's
So
got
you're saying
jokes.
your hair's gonna look like mine by the end of it?
It's gonna, I don't know, we've talked about it, we're thinking 4 years from start to finish.
I was thinking 3 to 4 years.
Mhm.
I just want to make sure communicated that well.
Yeah, so it is definitely a commitment.
So, because you probably got at least a year of planning for AJB before you
Right.
start anything, so. It'll take a little, at that point, usually a couple years for the project, and then you got a closeout period where you're still expending funds, or like the high school we opened in fall 2017, we didn't really close that project until after that whole school year had completed, before it was closed out. So it was
Right.
another year, almost a year before the project technically closed for the high school. So.
Carl has asked if any of you know somebody in District 1 that you would like to recommend to him. He'd be open to listening. I think he's been a little overwhelmed.
We can go back and look too.
Feeds into Pavan.
Does it go out Kingsbury?
Mhm.
Yes.
Part of Kingsbury.
Part-
I have part of Kingsbury too.
So the committee members, I noticed that there's no trustees. The committees that I've been in the past, I've always had the opportunity for, maybe some of them didn't have a trustee, but they would drop by. Just generally, so this is going to be open, so that at least the board members can drop by and just.
Absolutely. Trustees, welcome to.
Some of the districts had 1 or 2 trustees on it, some of them had no trustees on it. So it was kind of a mix. We kind of saw this as a citizens committee, because you're going to get the information as well. And so, plus usually you have 1 or 2 board members that maybe sit on your construction committee. We've done in the past, so you kind of have represented there.
That will be, more heavily involvement of trustees, whereas you don't want to lock in, I don't think you want to lock in to 1 or 2 trustees here and really leave it open. I mean, citizen-owned, but if a trustee would like to attend one, it's certainly okay, but we're not going to say, oh, Denise and Linda, you're part of this, and give everyone an opportunity to.
Yeah, and then the ones that I've been into, they never did direct, oh, you may want to look at this. They were just sort of listen, pretty much, and that went without saying. They would really let them do their job and just kind of listen to it.
We'll get a report from them when they meet.
So we'll talk about it, reporting after a meeting, having a report back from that. Following board policy for committees like this, you appoint the committee if there's anything. There's no action that the group would take as far as there's no administrative action, nothing like that they would vote on, but they can come to you and say, we went over this report, we heard this, we like this, we're concerned about this. They can report back to y'all the things they're hearing about expenditures. We feel like this is too much or too less, or there's we go over the timeline, and then they get to discuss the timeline with us and what they think about it and stuff like that, and they can present back to y'all. We like what they presented, we think this is going to work, we don't think this is going to work, so things like that. So they get to see full financial disclosure every time, every penny spent.
Can you speak a little bit to, just to have an understanding of the difference, since you were here with the high school, between the construction committee and this committee?
So the construction committee was more about the weekly updates about what projects that we've worked on the past week, what was coming up, were there any issues with contractors or architects, those kind of things. A little bit more day-to-day type issues.
We had 2 trustees.
There was 2 trustees that were part of that. Of course, this wouldn't be necessarily the day-to-day. Hey, it's not going to pick paint colors. The group won't pick furniture out. I mean, those will be left towards committees and those decisions that the board makes. You look at the options that are given to you, the color schemes, those kind of things. The board makes all decisions regarding the construction.
I think I've mentioned this to you before, Bill, and maybe to you as well, Dr. Gutierrez, but I'd like to see in front of each of the campuses where there are improvements, some type of a sign that says, your bond dollars at work, what's supposed to be happening there, and then check it off when it's done. So I would hope that this would be something that this board oversight
You
is
see
doing.
typically.
Okay,
Typically.
I think that's a good idea.
And the district staff members will be the duration from start to finish?
Yes.
I
That
have-
won't change.
Yeah, have those been assigned yet?
Not yet. Of
We've
course,
asked
Bill
that
will be on there.
What?
Tony.
We asked that anybody that's appointed, really committed to serve, all the ones I looked at, they had some very strict, there was one, if you missed one meeting, or missed 2 meetings, you were out, or if you missed consecutive meetings, you were off the committee. So there was some of them had some pretty heavy language about commitment, and if you didn't make it. Some of them they were larger projects, because you served a term on this committee, because basically construction was bond was an ongoing process in these larger districts. Some of them were fast growing, and so it was constantly, it wasn't like you're the bond 2015 committee, you were the capital projects committee, but that was continuous going, because they were doing bonds or buildings every so often, so they had like 3-year terms or things like that. So we didn't do that on this one. We just kind of left it with this one, because we believe we'll be finished before we reach that, right before another capital project may be needed. So if we get to the end, we can talk about that again. We can, how it goes, but we just ask for this consistent commitment to the group, and then if you can't participate or if you miss so much, we ask maybe we look at replacement for that person if they can't serve. Because only if you have 4 to 6 meetings a year, I think it's important that you're there for most of them.
I think that's reasonable.
And once they get together, I guess, are they going to pretty much determine the times that's best for them?
So we'll pick the times, and then we'll make sure we have a co-chair that's from the community. That'll be helping me in charge of those meetings, and so it's a citizen-led co-chair.
And the other co-chair would be from district?
So far that I've seen them, they usually have a district, somebody to sit with and plan the meetings together. Because if you're not in the day-to-day, I think it's hard to know. Hey, we have financials, we have this, I want this person to come speak. And so talking with that co-chair to make sure everybody, they ask the right questions, ask for things they want to see, and then make sure that the district co-chair can provide those things and provide some guidance. So. I mean, it's kind of exciting. It's something new and different. And, I think it'll be a good open window transparency to members of the community. And they can share and talk. And
That's what seemed exciting about it.
Mine did too.
So have we talked to, like you said, Round Rock, and there were some other districts that had?
so they just had extensive information on there. I looked at their board agendas. I looked at their committee websites, and so I'm going to make sure we pattern ours after the pieces on those, what they put on there, the information they put on there. Pretty much everything that gets presented to the committee goes right up on that website, page for page. And if there's any board presentations, of course, those will be filmed and posted as well. Kind of like we did on the last one. We posted bond updates last time, tried to keep those things posted, so making sure we do that, but with a little more committee input on those things.
I don't know if there'll be if time will allow to do it like during the home games. 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Not every home game, but you don't have to yet, just put it in there.
That's a good idea.
Show pictures.
Put the picture on the jumbotron.
And blasted loud
At
so
a-
that all Seguin can
At
hear.
an accommodating volume.
Yes.
Come on, Denise, be a player.
My neighborhood.
Hey, I heard at my house.
I didn't have to go outside. Just enjoy the game.
Any other questions?
So, no, not on that.
You sure?
Not on the bond oversight committee. I have one about.
So we're emailing our names in. I just brought in my pen.
Yeah, Nancy needs
You
their
can
email
hand it in.
address and their phone number.
Email and phone number primarily.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't send that to you.
You still have time. Yeah. Okay, did you want to talk about something else?
Yeah, I had a question on the options of the names.
Okay.
Who's going to decide that?
So the board policy, you review any naming of any facility, any space in a facility, any building, multi-building facility, it all goes to the board. So we're not going to recommend any facility change names here in March, but down the road,
But,
we'll bring those to you.
so clarification with MBLC is moving to Sager. It's not a name change.
Right.
It's staying.
Just a program.
But with Burgess, making sure we honor that history there and continue with that namesake, we have been having conversation about the possibility of naming the Professional Development Center the Burgess Professional Development Center, so that it doesn't just go away
Keep the
with
name alive.
not using that facility.
There is a marker at Burgess. I'll stay at Burgess because that site is. There's a marker about
It's-
Lizzie and Burgess, state historical marker at that
It's
site.
over the
It's
left
actually
side.
on. It's actually on. It's affixed to the building, but it's about this. It's about the person and the history of the African American school. So it wasn't that building, but the namesakes after a prominent educator. So that'll stay there. And so maybe think about maybe we can make a copy or have another one made and bring it over. If we decide to change the name, bring that plaque over. So there's some things we could do there. Those need to be discussed and planned and stuff. So we're not bringing any name changes right now. So we still work through those.
Wanted to provide y'all with the policy so you understand
I provided a copy on your handout there.
how that process
Just
works.
what's that, the naming process. You want to look at that board policy there. It's page 3.
I have a question back to facilities, but if we can't talk about it right now, just we'll talk about it another time. But I noticed in the paper there was an RFQ for baseball, softball fields. Is that what that was for? That was in the paper? What's the process, what's the thinking there?
Just to gather some more information for y'all.
For March, it is pertaining to facilities, so we have an agenda item for March 26th. We've moved forward and we put out an RFQ for the stadium, not the stadium, the softball, baseball.
Kind of like what you did for the stadium.
Yes, just like we did for the stadium. Takes nothing to do that, but we've had discussions about those two facilities and the desire for the high school to be fully complete, from the school building to the extracurricular areas, and we've had discussion about next steps, so we've gone out for that bid.
So there's no cost for that piece, but it would give us somebody to work with officially on that project, talk to them, and then maybe get you more information. And then if we want to take that forward, then we'd have that process already going to take forward. If we decide to take it forward, if we don't, then it ends and we're done. So no cost to go out for qualifications. So.
Thank you.
All right, well, if we don't have any further questions, I guess we'll go into closed session right now. Pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.071, 551.074, 551.129, is consultation with legal counsel, including possible telephone consultation with legal counsel as necessary to address legal concerns, contemplated litigation implications, and answer any legal questions regarding post-agenda items, and discuss personnel matters, including appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public or official or employee, or to discuss the purchase, exchange, 551.072, to discuss the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. So we will break at 7:20. Well, now that we've all sat down, we're going to adjourn this board workshop at 7:35.
Okay.